Our teams are back. We're talking FF7. We're talking Rebirth. We're here to look back at the demo for Rebirth, the current demo that we have, the Nibelheim episode, and kind of look at some of the smaller details, the hidden details, Easter eggs, things like that that are relatively easily missable. We probably won't cover everything because there's a lot of things that are pulled from Trace 2 Pass, and that's just not something that I know a whole lot about. There's some really cool shit here that I was aware of. There's some stuff that we talked about with the demo. There's some stuff that I didn't talk about with the demo. And then there's some other details that are kind of crazy that I just never even picked up on. Like, at one point in the demo, you can actually see off in the distance the top of like one of the Mog houses. Like you can see like the top of one of the mushrooms. And something I never would have even noticed or looked for. Just kind of cool shit. Speaking of Trace 2 Pass though, we're going to start there with some of the Trace 2 Pass stuff that I am aware of. For starters, the sandwiches that I was kind of confused by when I did my demo review, this is actually one of many references to Trace 2 Pass, where in that book apparently the kids would take these sandwiches on play dates, and that's actually why this woman says, wait, did you go on any play dates? Because obviously Cloud wasn't really a part of the cool kid group.
You must have taken them as snacks on a play date before. Wait, did you go on any play dates?
Also, Mayor Xander is a character from Trace 2 Pass. This is something people speculated on like right away when we saw this guy in a trailer. I would have known this if nobody ever pointed it out, though, that he was a character that already kind of exists within the lore. Another reference to the book here is the old people working out. I don't know if they're always working out with Zongon in the book or if it's just kind of in general they're working out in the town or whatever, but that's a thing from the book as well, apparently. A somewhat interesting detail, I suppose, for lack of a better term here, is that if you come to where the old people are working out, it's a different person leading it until you talk to Zongon, and then after that, he'll be the one doing the instructing. I'm not really sure why that is exactly, but there you go. Right outside Tifa's house, there's actually one of the reunion flowers right above the mailbox. I'm not 100% what the significance is, I guess, technically. And I say that because I don't know if it's something that's maybe in Trace 2 Pass, it's a little further explained, or if it's just like there for like the fans from like the devs, kind of like a wink and a nudge because of the significance of the flower, what it means. Or if like Tifa knows what the flower means and she put it there like hoping Cloud would come back one day, or put it there specifically that day because like there were Shinder people coming to the town to check out the reactor. Like I don't know if any of that's explained anywhere, if it's just literally there as like for the fans or whatever. Speaking of Tifa's house, we might as well check out a couple of things here. You can actually find her cat's food bowl downstairs, her cat Fluffy, that's actually in Trace 2 Pass, but her cat's actually existed since before Crisis. I think it was just Trace 2 Pass that finally gave the cat a name.
Remember my cat?
Her name was Fluffy, I think?
Yeah. She was always disappearing, and that day was no different.
Upstairs in Tifa's room, we have a couple little details to look at. For one, there's a little Shinra Troop figurine on her shelf, and this could either be a reference to Cloud, and obviously her longing for Cloud, or it could be like a callback to the original FF7 with the 135th soldiers that you can find. You can find like a couple of them in the game, but they actually have no significance. This one I'm surprised we haven't talked about yet, and I don't really know why we haven't, but we've known about this poster, I think since they first showed off the piano minigame, maybe. But there's clearly Zell on the poster from Final Fantasy VIII, because he has like a similar combat style to Tifa's, like hand-to-hand combat, and even has like the dolphin kind of attack. That's why you're seeing the dolphins on the poster. Again, I don't have a reason for why I haven't mentioned it in a video this entire time, because we've known about it for like months, I think, or something at this point. But regardless, still a cool little thing to see, like them giving a little bit of love to Final Fantasy VIII. Right above Tifa's bed, there's some pictures on her wall, and most of them are hard to make out because you can't zoom in super far. But the one closest to Cloud's pauldron is very clearly the Chocobo Farm or something like it. Red barn with the yellow logo. Right next to it might be potentially Costa del Sol because you can see like the shadow of the palm tree leaves, so maybe that's what that is. So these could potentially just be like kind of foreshadowing locations around the world, potentially. I don't know. It could just be random ass generic photos, other than ones that we know what they are. This is actually something I got off of Reddit. People were saying that the kids behind the counter here in the general store get pulled into the Genova project. I don't know if this is something that's expanded upon in like Trace 2 Pass or some other lore somewhere, or if it's just kind of a callback to the original FF7, where when you come back to Nibelheim in the story, like present day, there are like children members of the reunion project. Behind the counter at the end, we of course have the Ruby Red poster, which like the rocks in the picture are kind of taking the shape of Ruby Weapon, who we'll see in the third game. We already talked about this before with the State of Play like showcase they did, because there's a scene when they're doing the piano minigame where in the room you can see the Ruby Red poster and also an Emerald poster as well. When it comes to the demo, there's a lot of like hints towards this Cloud that we're playing as not really being Cloud. It's a lot is down to the mannerisms, of course. He's just acting very different than what Cloud acts like at Remake. You could chalk that up, of course, to he changed after the Nibelheim incident. Maybe he's this like bright young boy back then, right? And the Nibelheim incident happens, and he's this dark, jaded guy now in present day. But there's obviously a lot of allusions to the character of Zack. At the very start of the demo, at least when it gets to the flashback itself, we have Cloud talking to himself, obviously. He leans down to talk to this trooper, and you can see under the helmet they have this bright blonde hair that matches his hair color. There could be other people in the world that have blonde hair, but obviously we know this to be actually Cloud, and that Zack's the one doing the talking. We also have Cloud doing the squats in the back of the truck, which is obviously a Zack thing. Cloud never does this at all in the original FF7 outside of the past, and it's obviously not him in those moments. He never does this in Remake either. Another really interesting detail that leans in favor of like this Cloud not being the Cloud we played as in Remake is actually the character levels, I guess specifically Cloud's level. It's level 40 in the demo, which obviously if you play Remake, you start at level 6, and like that first fight levels you up to level 7, which is what happened in the original FF7 as well. But it would make sense that this Cloud that's years in the past is a higher level than the Cloud we start at in Remake, right? If anything, the Cloud in Remake should be a higher level than he was in the flashback. So that's another little nod to this Cloud not being actually Cloud. Another detail I actually like is that they put the characters on the same level. Like Cloud and Sephiroth are both level 40, which makes more sense in the original Final Fantasy VII, where if you go to the flashback, Cloud/Zack is level 1 while Sephiroth is level 50. That never made sense because they're both supposed to be Soldier First Class. So the character, whoever it is, Cloud or Zack, should be like a high level. It should be comparable. And obviously, if you look at the stats of Sephiroth and Cloud in the Rebirth demo, their stats are drastically different, but I still like that their levels are similar. There's also just the way that Cloud acts within the demo that is very different from how he acts in Remake. Again, that could be attributed to the tragedy that's about to happen if we didn't know this was Zack. You also have Sephiroth calling Cloud a puppy during the Materia Guardian fight, which is a very Zack thing as well from Crisis Core. Another blatantly obvious Zack reference is when they're in the Mount Nebo reactor, Sephiroth actually says to Cloud, like, perhaps you'd like to say a few words to your sword first. This is one that I think is almost on the verge of being like a little too on the nose. It's something that happens in Crisis Core. Zack does it probably several times. I can't remember if Angel ever does it, but putting the sword up and like talking to it, embrace your dreams, soldier honor, all that other shit. Which if you already played Crisis Core, this wouldn't even be like a spoiler or anything because you already know what's happened in the flashback. You already know what happens to Zack and Cloud and all that other shit. Except for the ending of Remake, where you actually see Zack do this. We see Zack do this whenever we get the scene outside of Midgar here. And it's something we never see Cloud do, right? Cloud never, ever once at all in Remake, or even the original FF7 in general, or Crisis Core, or anything, ever once talked to the Buster Sword, right? And you're seeing this guy at the end of Remake, even if you don't know who this is or what's happening, you're seeing this guy that has a similar sword to Cloud, the Buster Sword, and talking to it. I just feel like this one's a little bit on the nose, especially like if you're paying attention. Obviously, this can be missable if you don't know what's going on. If you're brand new to FF7, you can definitely miss all this. But if you're like really keeping up with like the Remake game, the first game, and then you're hopping into the demo, I feel like you'd catch this one pretty easily. And then we're not even haven't even gone over all the fucking little details that point towards this Cloud not exactly being Cloud. Speaking of which, we of course have the trooper on the ground crawling towards Cloud's mom's house, talking about Sephiroth and trying to call out and say the word mom. Again, this is one that I think I might have touched on in my demo review that I just feel like a little too blatant if they're trying to like keep it secret what's happening. You then of course also have the detail of whenever Cloud opens the door and it blasts him away, like he's first looking at the door when it's open and you're seeing the fire coming out, and then it does like the glitch thing, and then you see it cut to when the doors are closed and him looking up, kind of reaching for the door, alluding to him being the trooper on the ground there. This one I like because it's a lot more subtle. And to kind of hammer this part home a little more though, they actually have it hard cut to Cloud seeing the door with the open with the flames coming out and shit like that to kind of get the point across, I suppose. So again, if you like combo like the guy crawled on the ground and then like the glitch of the door right there, and then like what Sephiroth says at the reactor about the talking to the sword, and it's kind of all the other details that they throw in this demo. They throw a lot of these details at you. The blonde hair under the helmet earlier, the way Cloud's acting throughout the demo. It's just like I don't know how many people that don't know what's happening are still oblivious, like if they play the demo, right? I feel like there's so many fucking details, like if you're really trying to keep up with this shit without spoiling it for yourself, I feel like this demo would maybe give it away. I could be wrong on that. I'm coming from the perspective of somebody that knows what's happening already, of course, though. There's actually another interesting detail from this crawling scene where when it switches to this scene where the doors actually close, which is like the truth scene essentially, you can see that Cloud on his left hand has the big-ass gauntlet that he has on in Remake, right? That he actually wears throughout that entire game, but that he doesn't have at any point during this demo. Kind of like another allusion to Cloud being an unreliable narrator. I will say, it kind of doesn't make sense because we're seeing Cloud crawl towards his mom's door in the past with the gauntlet on, when that's like present day Cloud that wears that, right? Not even Cloud, who's recalling the Nibelheim incident, is even thinking of himself wearing the gauntlet. It's like it's not there, right? He's wearing two gloves, which is what Zack wears. And then Trooper Cloud's on the ground wearing the Trooper outfit, which the gauntlet's not part of that. That's like present day Cloud. So if that makes any sense at all, like it doesn't really make sense. I don't know if that's like an oversight by the devs, or something like that. I don't know. I just don't understand why the gauntlet's there necessarily. It'd make a bit more sense if it like cut to the true scene with the door closed and like you're seeing the trooper like outfit, like the armor that the trooper wears on the ground. That might be a little too on the nose, I guess, if they did that. So maybe it's just meant to be like subtle, where it's a little bit missable, but if you catch it, like, okay, something's off here because the outfit's different or something. Maybe that's what it's supposed to be, but still, past Cloud doesn't have the gauntlet. That's kind of the whole point of what I'm saying. There's actually one more detail from this crawling scene that I failed to mention with my demo review for some reason, and I don't really know why, but it's what Claudia says while Cloud's crawling, which is a callback to Remake, where Cloud and Sephiroth are talking in an alleyway, and he just quotes Cloud's mom verbatim. It was theorized for a long time that that's what Sephiroth was doing, was intentionally quoting Cloud's mom. And somewhere along the way, the devs confirmed that, but now with the demo, we actually have Claudia saying it herself.
Run away. You have to leave. You have to live.
Run, Cloud. Run away. You have to leave. You have to live.
So right here we have the bridge leading to the reactor right before it actually breaks and you guys fall down into the river. But if you look around, you can actually get a good shot of Nibelheim and the manor, which is pretty cool. But if you actually look above Cloud's head where the spiky part of the mountain's coming out, right above that you can see the very top of a mushroom. It's very obviously Mog House or one of the mushrooms. I think we're told somewhere along the way in some of the interviews that there's more than one Mog House around the world where you can do like the mini games and shit. I don't know if this was intentional from the devs, like if they wanted us to notice this with the demo, if they meant for it to be noticeable from the bridge or whatever. But that's clearly what this is. So now that we know there's a Mog House somewhere within the Nibelheim region. And actually just this screenshot in this angle gives us a decent look outside of the town of Nibelheim. Obviously it's kind of raining, overcast, you can't make out everything, it's very far away, but you can see the dirt path that leads outside the town, which we're prevented from leaving at the beginning of the demo. So we actually see like the kind of wider world from this angle, which is pretty cool. And kind of the tail end of this video here is going to be within the Shinra Manor, and it comes down to a lot of the paintings that are in there. There gives us some pretty cool details and things to look at. And there's a couple other things that aren't painting related, though. For starters, we have this door that's right across from the entrance when you first walk in. It's clearly trying to secure something. There's multiple chains holding different kind of handles and shit, but there's also boards that are clearly like trying to secure the door closed. I'm wondering if this is something we'll be able to access when we come here in present time Nibelheim and Rebirth. Maybe that's where like lost numbers like locked away or some shit. Could be nothing, but I just thought I'd mention it. So here's the first of many paintings. We have what is clearly like the bridge that led to the reactor, but you can see that it's verdant, it's green. It's probably what Mount Nebel kind of looked like before obviously Shinra destroyed the area. And actually kind of on the opposite side of where that previous painting is, we have what looks like a modern day painting of Mount Nebel, kind of the area that we walk through with Cloud and Tifa and everybody. We also have a painting of the entrance to Nibelheim. I'm not sure if it's meant to be like before Shinra was involved or after. We do see chocobos on the right side, which we don't have obviously in the flashback or when we go there in modern times. So I'm led to believe this is like prior to Shinra messing the area up. So right here we have two different paintings. One appears to be maybe like a younger President Shinra, and then a picture of Hojo and Lucrezia. I actually had to crank the brightness up to get a better look at these pictures. There's actually bigger versions of these pictures upstairs, but obviously we can't quite access them, so it's hard to get like a decent screenshot of that. And then if we actually angle the camera a bit more to the right, you can see a painting of the inside of the Shinra Manor before it's all messed up. You can actually see like the angel statue in the middle, top middle of the painting that's to our left right here. And it looks like there's like tables set up for maybe like a dinner or a banquet or something. And if we come over here to this room that leads to the elevator, there's another painting of what is probably a young President Shinra. This is something I pointed out in my demo review, but I figured it's worth mentioning here. This room that we walk into once we go down the elevator is very clearly like a boss arena. It's a room that we'd fight a boss. Is it going to be Vincent? Is it going to be whatever's behind this locked door? I don't know, because there's two different locked doors. There's a lot of people that want us to fight Vincent as a little bit of fan service, because it'd be kind of cool. And I'm fine with whatever. There's definitely going to be a boss fight here at some point, though. We also go into this room. There's two Mako chamber pods, which is where Zack and Cloud are going to be in the future come the end of the Nibelheim incident. And lastly here for the video, we have two moments that they showed Jenova finally. We actually see her like her head and a little bit of her face and shit, which we didn't get with Remake because she's missing her head in those moments, and they're not going to show her headless body. There's some sort of medical contraption, whatever. The first time is whenever Sephiroth's reading the book about the history of them finding Jenova, and when they get to the part where they need to give Jenova a name, it has a really quick showing of her, which is actually something I missed when I did my demo review. This one actually lingers just a slight bit more than the other one that we're going to look at, which is kind of nice because you get like a decent front shot of Jenova, at least from the nose down. Unfortunately, we don't get to see the eyeball titty, so 0 out of 10. And the other moment is whenever Sephiroth's about to leave to go find Jenova and Cloud's looking at him, they kind of superimpose a shot of Jenova over him. Even if I slow this down as much as I possibly can, it's so damn fast it's hard to catch. Which I find to be kind of weird. I don't know how I caught that scene of Jenova with me making my demo review and then when I was editing and shit, and somehow missed the first one that we looked at just now that lingers on the shot more. That's a more blatant shot of Jenova. Somehow I missed it. That'll be pretty much the video, my dudes. I think I covered everything that I wanted to cover with this video. There's probably other little Easter eggs and little details and stuff. Like, there's probably, like, character dialogue. There's a shit ton of NPCs in Nibelheim, so walking around, I'm sure there's some things being said that are interesting, but at least everything that I'm aware of, we covered in this video. So let me know if there's anything else in the demo that's worth talking about, little Easter eggs and little things that are interesting. So that'll be the video, my dudes. Subscribe to me if you guys are new, so networks in the description below. Follow me on Twitter, @YT. That's it. Bye.
Used to care what people thought, but now I care more, and nobody out here's got it figured out. So therefore, I've lost all hope of a happy ending, depending on whether or not it's worth it. So insecure, no one's perfect. We spend it with no shame. We blow that like Coltrane. We in here like Logain, or leave it like Cobain.